So, welcome back, students. Because of the current situation, as the lockdown is still continues, so we couldn't help ourselves, but we have to carry on with the online classes as we did earlier. Even though yes, it acts some sort of a problem to some because relating to the understanding the entire topics or portion. But even then, I'll try my best to explain whatever that is being needed to give a very clear explanation on the remaining topics or on the remaining units that we are left with. Yes, as far as I recall, we've already had a discussion in the class, okay, that is relating to the canons of taxation, relating to the classification as well as the taxable capacity. So now let us move on to another topic that is on the effects of taxation. Yes, we did know or we did learn like if we talk about a tax it has been considered as one of the major source of the government's income or the government's revenue. The government through the imposition of the various type of taxes it has been able to accumulate huge amount of resources which it divert or to carry on various works or uh, plans or programs, so on and so forth. Yes, it is obviously a huge gain on the part of the government whenever it levy a tax, but looking from the other side, that means looking from the side of the taxpayers or of the people, whenever a tax is imposed is really it did really had a very or it did had an impact or it did produce certain effects on the part of the consumers or on the part of the taxpayers. So what Dalton says, yes, the government can't survive without a tax, but what is being expected, okay, whenever we talk about the effects of a tax, Dalton says the effects may be good or bad, but the best system of taxation from the economic point of view is that which has the least economic effects. That means whenever a government impose a tax, its effects, the government should make sure that the impact or the burden should be at the very least, or the sacrifices being borne by the taxpayers should be at the very a very small burden or at the or something that produce a very the least economic effects or impact on the part of the people. Now let us have a look what are the effects of taxation. The first important whenever we talk about the effects of taxation is that whenever a tax is imposed, it uh, it affect or it directly hit the level of production. How or in what way taxation affects production? Through affecting the ability to work and save of the consumers, I mean of the taxpayers. It affects their desire to work and to save, as well as the composition and the pattern of production. If we talk about the ability to work and to save, this is something very clear to us. Like whenever a government impose a tax on you or on me, okay, definitely it will affect us. It affect us in a sense like it will definitely affect our ability to work, okay, or in other words, whenever a tax it impose it will lower the efficiency of the taxpayers, okay. How or in what way? It is when taxes are levied, Okay, what happened was people obviously has to cut down certain expenditures. Okay, and what is hard to say is, especially when people have to cut down certain expenditures which are vital for their growth and development, from their efficiency point of view. Okay, it will affect them a lot. Okay, that means, for example, earlier I have the capacity to buy, to consume good food. Okay, to have a balanced diet, so to say. Okay, but with the imposition of a tax on me, I couldn't afford for such a diet. So definitely it will affect my ability to work, it will affect my efficiency to work. Okay, so if I say it will affect my efficiency to work, okay, that means I won't be able to give my very best. Okay, be it the workers who require their physical strength, or workers like us who require our mental strength. So definitely whenever a tax is imposed, it will affect the level of production, in a sense like it will affect the efficiency of our workers. Okay, why? Because there is a tendency for the level of consumption is being reduced. Another important thing whenever we talk about the effect of taxation is that it will also affect the ability to save on the part of the consumers, on the part of the taxpayers. Because I'm taxed, okay, and then on top of that, I have to spend on my daily requirements in order to survive, in order to meet the needs of my whatever, myself, my family, so on and so forth. So talking about my saving level, it has been reduced, or my savings level, it has been reduced from the earlier amount, say, to a lower amount or to a lower rate. So in this way, whenever we talk about uh, the effects of a taxation, is that yes, it affects production. How or in what way? If you look from one area, when it affects the ability to work of the workers, and at the same time when it affects the ability to save of the people. So this is quite harmful whenever when we talk about a tax, like what we discussed earlier while we discussed the canons of taxation. Whenever a government impose any tax, it should make sure like it should not affect the level of production in the entire country. But what we learn is that yes, whenever a tax is imposed, it definitely hit the level of production. So the government in this way should try to make sure, like, uh, think properly. Okay, that means impose a tax in such a way like it will not affect the level of production. It did also affect the desire to work and to save. Okay, so there are certain areas of work in which there is a need for a worker to work harder, which means the harder he work, the more will be his income, the more will be his, so to say, his promotion. So when a person he is promoted, obviously there will be an increase in the level of income. So under such a circumstances, okay, if I do really have that incentive, that desire to work hard, I do really wanted to work hard, because I knew that in the end I'll be paid in a sense like I'll be promoted, and with that I'll be provided with a good income. Okay, so if that is the case, it's good, isn't it? That means it will give a tendency, it will give some sort of an incentive for the workers to work harder and harder, because the more they work hard, the more will be there an improvement in the level of income, or in terms of their rewards. But under such a case, what we learn is that, okay, through way of taxation of the government, when the government sees, or when the government realize that the income of, if the income of a worker or a laborer is quite good or is quite high, he'll be taxed more, he'll be taxed heavily. So if that happens, Nobody will develop that incentive to work hard. Okay, so in that way, so if no one wants to work hard, the economy itself will suffer. Okay, that means the workers, be it those who are in the different areas, different sectors, they won't have the tendency to give their very best, okay, or to work harder and harder. Okay, so in that way, attacks did affect their desire to work and finally to save as well. Because why? Through ways of, for example, an income tax. The greater my income, the more will I'll be taxed. Okay, so that affects the taxpayers or the people in general.